When is the right time to start giving your child alcohol to drink? How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today's question is, when's the right time to give your child alcohol to drink? It's a bit early in the morning. You can see the moon is still up here. It's just after 6:30 and it's a nice morning. It's a bit warm and muggy, but yeah, it's nice anyway. So when's the right time to give your child alcohol to drink? Never. I mean, I can only go on my own personal experience, right? And I think I probably gave my son his first sip of beer when he was maybe 13 or 14, maybe younger than that, I don't remember. You know, it's funny to do it. It's sort of, look at his face, look how he doesn't like that, huh? And he's sort of sipping it and going, ugh. But at the same time, he knows that daddy drinks the beer. He knows that mommy drinks the beer and that they like it. And just because you don't like it now, you know, it's something that the grown-ups like. So something that the grown-ups like to do. So that decision to give my son his first drink of beer came from ignorance, not being educated enough. I don't mean educated in the university sense, right? I mean educated in the common sense. Educated enough to know that what you're doing is feeding your child a drug. You're teaching him or her to accept this drug into their lives as part of the growing up process, right? You don't think you're doing it, but that's exactly what you are doing. Like I say, I've gone through this over and over in my own mind and stuff, and thought to myself, if I could do this again, what would I do, right? And I'm not doing this from the perspective of thinking, yeah, I can do it again, or in terms of regret. I'm thinking about it in terms of how I can use this within alcohol mastery to try and teach people who are coming after me, you know, people. I was 24 when Sean was born. I think I just turned 25 actually. But I was young. I mean, I was barely able to drink myself, and you know, I didn't think about stuff like that. You know, it was a normal thing for me to do, to sort of, you know, not feed him on alcohol per se, but you know, we never did that. It's like, you don't leave a can of beer out and go, oh, here's a glass of wine with your dinner. It was like, oh, have a little sip, you know. There's nothing wrong with it, you know. That kind of thing. I remember we were joking around one time with one of my sister's girls, and I stuck the dummy into the top of the beer, just into the head of the beer, and I put it into her mouth. And the way she was sucking on it, and we were bursting ourselves laughing at the time. But looking back on it now, it's like a horror show, you know. It's like, Jesus, what are you doing, you know? Almost as bad. I sort of go, here's a little bit of cocaine for you, you know. Here, give the child a blow back from a spliff, you know. Have a sniff of that. What does that make you feel, you know? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. I mean, like I say, if I had a child now, if I could go back to when I was younger, to when Sean was younger, I'd be focusing my mind purely on trying to teach him the best possible way to get through life, to pursue his life, not to get through it, to pursue his life. You know, nutrition. I'd be teaching him that alcohol, cigarettes are drugs just like anything else, and are to be feared in the same ways, right? You know, and I understand the excuses. There's people that say, well, I do this because I want to give my child the best possible start in life, right? And if I introduce them to alcohol in the safety of my own home, right, in the safety of our surrounding parentage and the families around, it's a safe environment, then once they get out into the outside world, that they won't be, it won't lead to addiction or abuse. And there's been enough studies to show that that's just bullshit, right? The younger you bring a child into the fold of your own drug abuse, drug use, the more normalized it becomes in their heads, right? And think about it, it doesn't make any sense the other way around. You're actually bringing something into the child's life. You are normalizing it as part of a normal process in your own life by just showing it to them as a normal part of the process. And when you give the child for the first time, it is actually making that, it's giving them permission to do it, and you can say, well, you're not allowed to do this until you're 18, you're not allowed to do this. And, in a lot of areas you can get into serious trouble for this as well. I think in England I read a bizarre law in the UK where you can actually feed your child on alcohol once it's over the age of 4 years of age. I think that's in, where did I found that in? I'm not sure where I found that, but it's a long time ago since I read it, but I'm sure that that's still the case in England, that once it's in the privacy of your own home. Ridiculous. So you've got that misconception in the beginning that bringing alcohol into your child's life at an early age will make them a lot less likely to become addicts of the stuff when they get older. Why don't we do this with cigarettes then? Cigarettes are a legal part. They're the same sort of thing in our society. Why don't we go, well, here, have a puff on this, and I'm sure people have done this before. Have a puff on this cigarette, and yeah, you're coughing, aren't you? Yeah. I think my dad said that when his father caught him smoking, he locked him into a cupboard and made him smoke a whole box of cigars until he was green in the gills and was puking, and that didn't stop my dad from smoking. My dad was a 60 a day chain smoker for the first 50 years of his life, until he was around 50 or 55, I think he stopped smoking. And even then after that, he would have the odd cigar. So the cigar thing was in his head. So that didn't work, right? And it doesn't work for anyone, because I don't know why. It just doesn't work, right? There are a lot of illegal drugs out there that a child can get their hands on. A young adult can get their hands on, I should say. Many children can as well, who are under the age of 18. I had my first joint when I was 15. I've tried a lot of drugs in my life, and mostly when I was young. So, why don't we introduce these into our, if that's the logic, if the logic is introduce the drug early in life, and it will teach the child to cope and to be able to handle this stuff. It's bullshit, the World Health Organization has come out and they've done many studies, and they've said that the earlier a child starts drinking or tastes alcohol, is exposed to alcohol in their homes, the more likely they are to have alcohol-related injuries when they get older, and alcohol dependence, And going back to this dependence thing, dependence, right, is if you need alcohol for a specific thing, it's like if you can't go a weekend, right, without drinking, right, if you can't go out on a Saturday night without taking your fix of alcohol, then you're dependent, regardless of how much you actually drink. If you drink 2 or 3 on a Saturday evening, then you're literally dependent on the stuff. Do you know what I mean? So it's a myth that early drinkers have more responsible attitudes towards alcohol. They fucking don't, right? It's been proven time and time again. It's a bad message to be given to your children. It's a bad message to be given to our society of children. You know, this bullshit message that alcohol is somehow an acceptable thing in our society, whereas all the other drugs aren't, you know, marijuana, cocaine, heroin, all these kind of drugs aren't, LSD. And most of these other drugs are a lot less damaging than alcohol. And yet we all the time have this bullshit notion that there is health giving properties in alcohol, and it's something that we jump on because we want to believe it, because it's so acceptable in our society that as soon as somebody says in the newspapers or in the magazine or on the television or wherever it is that, oh no, if you drink moderately it's good for your heart, it's good for your long-term health, you know, you'll live longer, you know, that, you know, there's a lot of things I said, well, you know, if you're an alcohol drinker, that you will actually live longer than an abstainer, you know. And I've done a previous video from a doctor that just disproved the whole thing. He said that the statistics were fudged. You know, they left out so many different people from the study, and they would bring in a lot of long-term total alcoholics, right? People who were told they had cirrhosis of the liver and all these kind of things, and they had to quit drinking, right? And they were just fudging the whole system. You know, the statistics are lying. They're saying, well, you know, if you do drink moderately, and nobody can agree on a moderate amount of alcohol, that you will, it's proven that you will have health benefits, right? So, you know, we've got that on one side, and then we've got the other stuff on the other side where people are saying all these other drugs are dangerous for you and are unhealthy for you. And yet, when you look at the statistics, 3.5 million people die every single year from drinking alcohol, right? And when you take all the other drugs put together, excluding cigarettes, there's 5 million people die from drinking cigarettes. When you take all the illegal drugs put together, right, that's only 250,000, right? 250,000. 3.5 million die, so 7 times the amount of people die. No, that's wrong. 14 times the amount of people die from drinking alcohol as taking all the other drugs combined, all the other illegal drugs combined. See, maths is not my forte. Over 200 different health conditions are caused by alcohol. And seeing as we're talking about young people here and encouraging young people to drink, encouraging children to drink in the mythical belief that if we get them to drink in a healthy, safe way now, that they won't have an unhealthy attitude towards alcohol later on. 25% of all young deaths between the ages of 20 and 39 are alcohol related. 1/4 of all deaths. That is fucking staggering, you know. So if you're considering giving your child a drink of alcohol when they're in the house and thinking that it's safe to do, don't do it. If you're considering drinking in front of your children, don't do it, because even by drinking, you're making this an acceptable part of life to them, right? You're making this out to be normal, right? This is a drug that kills 3.5 million people every single year, 3.5 million people every single year. That's the whole population of Ireland gone, right? In one fell swoop every single year. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, look, if you have any questions about that, any comments at all, please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Went over to the website and sign up for the newsletter. It's absolutely free. And until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery. Stay safe, keep your kids safe, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, keep it out of their mouths, and have a great day. I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Onwards and upwards.